The Viking Princess's Secret, a tale of courage and mystery. Chapter 1. The Hidden Chamber of Secrets. In a land of tall, icy mountains and blue fjords, there was a brave Viking princess named Astrid. Astrid had golden hair that shimmered in the sunlight, and her eyes sparkled like the sea. She wore a silver cloak lined with soft fur, and on her head rested a small crown that she wore proudly. Her father, King Harold, was known far and wide for his strength and wisdom. And Astrid dreamed of becoming a strong leader like him. One chilly morning, Astrid decided to explore the forest behind her castle. She loved the peace and beauty of the trees, where soft moss covered the ground, and birds sang happy songs. Suddenly, she noticed a strange glow from behind a waterfall nearby. Curious, she stepped closer, her heart beating with excitement. Behind the waterfall was a dark cave she had never seen before. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. The air was cold and quiet, and as her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she saw something incredible, a hidden chamber with walls covered in strange, glowing symbols. In the center of the chamber lay an ancient book covered in dust, its leather cover worn from age. Astrid carefully picked up the book. As she opened it, her eyes widened. It was filled with strange symbols, mysterious maps, and words she could barely understand. Her heart beat faster as she realized this was no ordinary book. It held a powerful secret. As she turned the pages, she found a map with a strange mark over the North Sea. Could it be a treasure? She didn't know, but she was determined to find out. But just then, she heard footsteps echoing in the cave. Startled, she looked up to see her father, King Harold, standing in the entrance, his face full of concern. Astrid, this book holds old secrets, he said. Secrets that were lost for a reason. Only the wisest should search for what lies within. Astrid knew her father was right, but her heart was already set. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with determination. I want to be brave and wise, like you. Let me go on this journey. The king nodded solemnly, knowing he couldn't stop her. Then take the wisest of our people, and remember, the true treasure lies not in gold but in knowledge and kindness. And so, with her father's blessing, Astrid began her journey to uncover the ancient secrets hidden in the book. But as she left the cave, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching her, waiting for her to uncover what was buried in the past. Chapter 2. The Stormy Seas. The next morning, Astrid and her loyal crew boarded their Viking ship, ready to sail toward the North Sea. The ship was sturdy and built to withstand mighty waves, its wooden dragon head carved to frighten away enemies. With her trusted warrior Bjorn and wise elder Sigrid by her side, Astrid felt ready for whatever lay ahead. As they sailed, the sea was calm, and Astrid marveled at its beauty. The water sparkled under the sun, and gentle winds filled their sails. But as the day wore on, dark clouds began to gather, and the once peaceful sea grew rough. A mighty storm soon overtook them, and the waves rose high, rocking their ship. Thunder cracked, and lightning flashed across the sky. Suddenly, Astrid spotted something terrifying, a massive, dark shape slithering through the water beside their ship. It was the sea serpent Jormungandr, the giant beast from Viking legends. Its scales glistened, and its eyes glowed like fiery embers. The crew gasped in fear as Jormungandr lifted its head, letting out a roar that shook the sea. Hold steady, Astrid called, gripping her sword. She thought quickly, remembering the ancient tales of calming sea creatures with music. With trembling hands, she pulled out a small wooden flute her mother had given her and played a soft, soothing tune. To everyone's surprise, the sea serpent paused, listening. Slowly, the creature's anger seemed to fade, and it slid back into the depths, leaving the ship unharmed. The crew cheered, and Astrid felt a surge of pride. They had escaped the storm, and the sea serpent, thanks to Astrid's clever thinking. But as the storm passed, she noticed a shadow following their ship far off in the distance. Could it be that someone else was after the treasure? The thought lingered as they continued their journey, and Astrid promised herself to stay alert for whatever lay ahead. Chapter 3: The Island of Riddles. After days of sailing, Astrid's ship finally reached a small, misty island marked on the map. The crew rowed ashore, stepping onto soft, mossy ground. A thick fog wrapped around the island, giving it an eerie, quiet feel. As they walked, they found a stone tablet standing in the middle of the island with strange symbols carved into it. Sigrid, the elder, studied the symbols, her wise eyes shining. "This is a riddle," she said. "To go further, we must answer it." Astrid read the riddle aloud. "I fly without wings, I cry without eyes. Wherever I go, darkness flies." Astrid thought hard. She knew this was a test of her wisdom. Finally, she smiled, realizing the answer. "It's the wind." As soon as she spoke, the stone tablet moved aside, revealing a hidden path that led into the heart of the island. They followed it, but Astrid couldn't shake the feeling that someone else had been here before. The symbols on the stones seemed disturbed, as though someone had tried to solve the riddles before them. With the path open, they ventured deeper into the island, facing many more riddles and puzzles. With each one solved, Astrid's courage grew. But the feeling of being watched grew stronger too. They soon reached a stone door, its carvings shimmering under the soft light. Beyond it, Astrid knew, lay something powerful and mysterious. She took a deep breath and reached out to open it, wondering what new challenge awaited them beyond. Each chapter in the Viking Princess's secret will build on Astrid's bravery, wisdom, and growing confidence. Every new riddle, puzzle, and adventure will bring her closer to uncovering the treasure while introducing mysterious threats and growing challenges. Hinting at a greater mystery she will unravel bit by bit. Through each triumph, Astrid will become more of the wise and strong leader her father knew she could be. Chapter 4: The Guardian of Shadows. The stone door creaked as Astrid pushed it open, revealing a dimly lit chamber beyond. The air was thick and cool, and strange shadows danced along the walls. Astrid took a cautious step forward, with her loyal warrior Bjorn and wise elder Sigrid close behind. In the center of the room was a tall, stone figure, a statue of an ancient Viking warrior wearing a helmet with wings and holding a massive sword. The statue's eyes seemed to glow faintly, and Astrid had a strange feeling that it was watching her. As they approached, a voice echoed through the chamber, deep and booming. "Who dares enter the Chamber of Shadows?" it asked. Astrid stepped forward bravely. "I'm Astrid, daughter of King Harald, and I seek the treasure of wisdom and knowledge." The statue's eyes glowed brighter, and it raised its sword, pointing it toward them. "To pass, you must prove yourself worthy," it said. "Answer my question, and you may proceed. Fail, and be turned back." The room fell silent as the statue asked its question. What belongs to you but is used more by others than by yourself? Astrid thought hard. It was a strange question, and she could feel the weight of her friends' eyes on her as they waited for her answer. But then, a smile crept across her face as she realized the answer. It's my name, as she replied confidently. The statue's eyes dimmed, and it lowered its sword. You are wise, young princess, it said. You may proceed, but beware, for danger grows as you near your goal. With that, the statue moved aside, revealing a passage that led even deeper into the island. Astrid and her companions continued on, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something dark and powerful awaited them further ahead. Chapter 5: The Cave of Echoes. The passage led them to a narrow, winding tunnel that opened into a vast cavern filled with shimmering crystals. The light from their torches reflected off the crystals, creating rainbows that danced across the walls. It was breathtaking, and Astrid felt a rare moment of peace. But their peace was short-lived. As they moved deeper into the cave, they began to hear strange whispers echoing around them. At first, it sounded like the wind, but soon the whispers became louder, and Astrid could make out words. Turn back, leave, the treasure is not yours. The whispers grew louder and more intense, and some of the warriors looked frightened. Sigrid placed a hand on Astrid's shoulder. These are the echoes of those who have come before us, she whispered. They failed, and now they warn us to turn back. But Astrid was determined. She straightened her shoulders and spoke firmly. I will not turn back. We came for knowledge, and we will see this through. The whispers grew angrier, and suddenly, shadows began to swirl around them, taking the shape of ghostly figures. The warriors raised their weapons, ready to fight, but Sigrid held up her hand. These spirits do not need swords, as she said. They need peace. Remembering her mother's gentle wisdom, Astrid held out her hand and spoke softly. We are here not for greed, but for truth and wisdom. We honor those who came before us and will carry their memory with us. The shadows paused, then slowly faded away, their whispers quieting. The cave fell silent once more, and the path ahead lay clear. Astrid had won the trust of the ancient spirits, and she felt a new strength in her heart as they moved forward. But as they left the Cave of Echoes, she noticed a faint set of footprints in the dust, a sign that someone else was ahead, heading toward the treasure. Chapter 6: The Path of Trials. The footprints led them to the edge of a cliff, where a narrow stone bridge spanned across a deep chasm. Beyond the bridge was a door carved into the mountain, its surface covered in ancient symbols. Astrid knew this was the final path to the treasure, but it would not be easy. As they crossed the bridge one by one, they could see strange shapes moving in the darkness below. Astrid felt her heart race, but she kept her gaze forward, focused on the door ahead. Once they reached the door, they saw an inscription written in old Viking runes. Sigrid read it aloud. Three trials await the one who seeks the treasure. Only the pure of heart, the sharp of mind, and the brave of spirit may pass. Astrid took a deep breath. She had already proven her courage and wisdom, but she knew these final trials would be the hardest yet. The first trial led them into a room filled with mirrors. As they walked in, each mirror showed a different version of Astrid. Some were kind and strong, others were angry and greedy. She knew this was a test of her heart. A true leader must see all sides of herself, as Sigrid whispered. Astrid faced each reflection, remembering the lessons she had learned on her journey. She accepted both her strengths and weaknesses, and as she did, the mirrors began to fade, revealing a door to the next trial. The second trial was a room filled with riddles written on the walls. Each riddle was more difficult than the last, but Astrid and her companions worked together, solving them one by one. They knew that only by using their combined wisdom could they succeed. Finally, they reached the third and final trial, a test of bravery. The room was dark, with a narrow path leading across a deep pit. Astrid had to walk it alone, with only a single torch to light the way. Her heart pounded as she stepped onto the path, but she reminded herself of all she had overcome. With steady steps, she crossed to the other side, feeling stronger than ever. As she reached the end, a door opened, and there, in a small chamber, lay an ancient chest covered in golden designs. But Astrid noticed something else, a faint sound of footsteps behind her. She turned and saw a shadowy figure standing in the doorway. It was another seeker, someone who had followed her all this way, hoping to claim the treasure for themselves. But Astrid held her ground, and the figure hesitated, seeing the courage in her eyes. "This treasure belongs to those who seek it with a pure heart," she said firmly. The figure lowered their head and stepped back, defeated by her bravery and wisdom. As they disappeared into the darkness, Astrid opened the chest and found not gold or jewels, but scrolls filled with knowledge and wisdom from ancient times. With her heart full of joy and pride, Astrid knew that her journey had taught her more than she could ever imagine. She had proven herself a true leader, wise and brave, and now she would return home with the greatest treasure of all, knowledge and the courage to protect it. Chapter 7. Return of the Shadow. With the ancient scrolls safely in her pack, Astrid and her companions began their journey home. The ship was lighter as it cut through the calm, moonlit sea, and Astrid's heart was filled with a deep sense of accomplishment. She knew she would share the knowledge she had gained to make her kingdom stronger and wiser. But as they sailed, Bjorn, the warrior, noticed something troubling on the horizon, a small, dark ship following them. The shadowy figure that had tried to take the treasure was still trailing them, unwilling to give up. "Princess, they haven't given up," Bjorn warned, his voice serious. Astrid narrowed her eyes, feeling a wave of determination. "Then we must be ready," she said. "They may want the knowledge we carry, but we will not let it fall into the wrong hands." As the shadowy ship drew closer, Astrid knew it was time to face this new challenge. She gathered her companions and prepared a plan. They would use their wits and skills, just as they had on their journey. With courage and teamwork, they would defend their ship and protect the treasure they had worked so hard to find. The shadowy ship drew alongside them, and the mysterious figure stood on its deck, cloaked in darkness. But as the figure prepared to board, Astrid stepped forward and raised her voice with a fearless command. "We have earned this knowledge with bravery and wisdom," she declared. "If you seek it with pure intentions, stand down and join us. But if you seek it for greed, turn back now." For a tense moment, silence filled the air. Then, to Astrid's surprise, the figure lowered their weapon and, without a word, steered their ship away. They had been defeated, not by force, but by Astrid's courage and her will to protect what was right. As they sailed homeward, her companions cheered, and Astrid knew that this victory would forever remain in their hearts. Chapter 8. The Celebration of the Brave. At last, Astrid's ship arrived home, and the villagers gathered on the shore to welcome them back. The air was filled with joy and celebration as Astrid stepped off the ship, her father, King Harold, waiting with open arms. "Welcome home, my brave daughter," he said with pride in his voice. Astrid handed him the scrolls, which contained the knowledge of ages past. "These are gifts of wisdom for our people," she said. "With them, we will grow stronger, not just in battle but in spirit." The village prepared a grand feast that night, celebrating Astrid's return and honoring the brave companions who had journeyed with her. The fire crackled as stories of their adventure were told, each one filled with excitement and suspense. But as the night grew quiet, an elder approached Astrid with a thoughtful look. "Princess," the elder said softly, "there are whispers of a greater challenge beyond the mountains, one that tests not only strength but the heart." Astrid felt a tingle of excitement. She had achieved so much, yet she knew there were still mysteries in the world that called to her. "Tell me more," she said eagerly. The elder explained that across the mountains lay a forest where the legendary tree of truth grew. Its branches held leaves that whispered wisdom, but only those with the purest of hearts could approach it. As Astrid listened, her heart raced. The journey to the Tree of Truth would be her greatest adventure yet. She knew that if she were to lead her people with true wisdom, she would need the knowledge the tree could offer. And so, even as the feast continued, Astrid began to plan her next journey, knowing that the road to true wisdom was never ending. Chapter 9. The Path to the Tree of Truth. The very next morning, Astrid gathered her loyal companions Bjorn, the strong warrior, and Sigrid, the wise elder, along with a small group of trusted villagers. Together, they set out for the distant mountains, ready to find the Tree of Truth. As they walked, the beauty of the land filled them with peace. The towering trees, blooming flowers, and shimmering rivers seemed to welcome them, and Astrid felt a deep connection to the world around her. She knew that every step brought her closer to a wisdom she could not find in books or battle. But as they neared the forest, a thick mist began to rise, covering the land in an eerie silence. Sigrid looked troubled. "This mist is no ordinary fog," as she whispered. "It is said to protect the Tree of Truth from those unworthy." Astrid took a deep breath, knowing that this was her final test. "We will find our way," as she said confidently. "But we must tread with kindness and respect." They ventured into the mist, each step careful and quiet. Strange shadows flickered in the distance, and whispers filled the air, as if unseen spirits were watching them. Suddenly, a dark figure emerged from the fog, blocking their path. The figure spoke, their voice low and cold. "This knowledge should be mine. I will take it by any means." Astrid stood her ground, her eyes filled with courage. The Tree of Truth cannot be taken by force. Only those with a pure heart can receive its wisdom. The figure laughed, a hollow sound that echoed through the mist. "Then we shall see who is truly worthy." With that, the figure challenged Astrid to a final test, a test of heart and spirit. They would each approach the tree, and only the one who was truly worthy would reach it. As they began, the mist grew thicker, and Astrid felt a strange, calm strength within her. She focused on her heart, remembering all the lessons she had learned on her journey, the power of kindness, the importance of courage, and the strength of friendship. With each step, she felt lighter, and the mist began to lift, revealing the majestic Tree of Truth at the center of the forest. Its branches stretched high, its leaves shimmering with a gentle light, whispering words of wisdom to those who could hear. Astrid looked back to see the shadowy figure frozen, unable to move forward. The mist held them back, and they realized they could not force their way to the tree. They disappeared into the fog, defeated not by strength, but by the purity of Astrid's heart. Astrid approached the Tree of Truth, its branches welcoming her. As she listened to its whispers, She felt a new sense of wisdom and peace fill her, knowing she was ready to lead her people with a heart full of courage, kindness, and strength. With the tree's blessing, Astrid and her companions returned home, her heart forever changed by the journey. She knew that her story was only beginning and that each adventure would make her stronger, wiser, and more prepared to lead her people with honor. Chapter 10. The Return of the Lost King. Astrid's return from the Tree of Truth was celebrated by all the villagers. She felt as though her heart and mind had grown, filled with the wisdom she had gathered on her journeys. But as the days passed, a quiet unease grew within her. She had begun having strange dreams, dreams of a tall, powerful figure standing in the shadows, calling to her. One evening, as Astrid walked along the shore, an elder approached her with news that made her heart race. "Princess," he said, his voice serious, "there are whispers of a ship sailing toward our land, one carrying a man who claims to be King Eric, the lost Viking king of an ancient kingdom." Astrid's eyes widened. She had heard tales of King Eric, a wise and just ruler who had vanished mysteriously many years ago, leaving his kingdom without a leader. If this man truly was King Eric, he could be a valuable ally for her people, or a dangerous foe. "Prepare a welcome," Astrid said, hiding her excitement. "If he is the true King Eric, we will show him honor and respect. But we must be cautious." The next day, King Eric arrived, his figure strong and commanding. He wore a cloak of deep green and a crown adorned with stones that glimmered like stars. As he stepped onto the shore, Astrid felt a strange sense of familiarity, as if she had known him in another life. "Princess Astrid," King Eric said with a respectful nod. "I have heard of your courage and wisdom. I seek your alliance to rebuild the bond between our kingdoms." Astrid's heart swelled with pride, but she sensed there was something more he wasn't saying. "We welcome you, King Eric," she replied. "But before we speak of alliances, I must know, what led you away from your people?" King Eric's face grew serious. "I left in search of a cure for a curse placed upon my land. A shadow has followed me ever since, and now it seeks to consume all of our lands." Astrid knew this was the beginning of a new challenge. She felt the weight of a new responsibility upon her and sensed that the shadow Eric spoke of was connected to the figure she had defeated in the mist. The darkness was not gone, it was growing, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Chapter 11. The Shadow's Curse. Astrid and King Eric spent many days discussing the curse that plagued his kingdom. Eric explained that a powerful sorcerer had once been banished from his lands for his dark practices, and in revenge, he had cast a curse upon Eric's kingdom, a curse that made crops wither and turned day into an endless, dim twilight. Determined to help, Astrid gathered her most trusted companions, including Bjorn and Sigrid. Together, they traveled to the border between their kingdoms, where the air felt cold and heavy, and the trees seemed to whisper of old sorrows. As they ventured deeper, they came upon a village where everything seemed frozen in time. The people moved slowly, their eyes dull, as if they were trapped in a dream. Astrid felt a chill run down her spine. "This curse affects not only the land but the spirit of the people," Sigrid whispered, her face solemn. But then, from the shadows, a figure emerged. It was the same shadowy figure that had followed them on their previous journey, now more powerful than before. His face was hidden beneath a dark hood, his voice echoing like thunder. "You cannot stop what has already begun, Princess," he sneered. "This land belongs to me now, and soon, yours will as well." Astrid stepped forward, her voice steady. You may cast shadows, but you cannot darken the hearts of those who stand together for truth. The shadowy figure laughed, but his laughter was cut short when King Eric raised his sword, its blade gleaming with a strange, powerful light. "We are not alone, Dark One," Eric said firmly. "Our people are strong, and together we will lift this curse." The figure retreated, hissing in anger, but Astrid knew he would return. The curse was strong, and it would take all their wisdom and courage to break it. Astrid and Eric gathered the villagers, urging them to remember the joy and hope they once knew. As they spoke, the villagers began to awaken, their spirits rekindling. Chapter 12. The Final Battle of Light and Shadow. The next morning, as dawn broke over the cursed land, Astrid and her companions prepared for the final confrontation with the Shadow Sorcerer. The villagers, now awake and hopeful, offered their strength and support, willing to fight for their freedom. Astrid and Eric led their forces to a dark mountain, where they knew the sorcerer held his power. The air grew colder as they climbed, and shadows seemed to move around them, whispering words of doubt and fear. But Astrid held fast to her courage, her heart filled with the love of her people and the wisdom she had gained from her journeys. At last, they reached the peak, where the sorcerer awaited them, his form towering and dark, eyes glowing like embers. "So, you have come to face your doom," he sneered. Astrid stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "Your shadows cannot hide the light that lives in our hearts. You may try to rule through fear, but fear will never defeat courage." The sorcerer laughed, raising his hands as dark clouds swirled around them, forming into shapes of monstrous creatures. But King Eric raised his sword, and its light cut through the darkness, dispelling the shadows one by one. Astrid took her flute, the same one that had calmed the sea serpent, and began to play a gentle, steady tune. The sound filled the air, carrying warmth and light, and the shadows began to fade, dissolving under the power of her music. The sorcerer grew weaker, his power fading as Astrid and Eric stood together, united by courage and hope. With one final strike, Eric brought his sword down, and the sorcerer's form shattered, his dark magic vanishing into the wind. As the darkness lifted, the land around them began to heal. The sun broke through the clouds, bathing the kingdom in light for the first time in many years. Flowers bloomed, and the trees swayed gently in the breeze, free at last from the curse. Astrid looked around, feeling a deep sense of peace. She had not only saved her own people but had restored the light to a neighboring kingdom, proving herself a true leader, wise and strong. With King Eric by her side, Astrid knew that their alliance would bring prosperity and peace to their lands. Together, they returned home, the villagers cheering for their brave princess who had saved them all. Chapter 13. The Wise Counsel. The kingdom was finally at peace, the dark curse lifted, and the land full of light and joy. Astrid's journey had taught her many things, but she knew her learning was far from over. She now had an alliance with King Eric, and together, they decided to establish a wise council to guide both kingdoms. Astrid invited the wisest elders, the bravest warriors, and the kindest villagers to join the council. They gathered in the great hall, where the walls were lined with tapestries of ancient Viking legends. Astrid, now respected as a true leader, stood at the head of the hall, ready to share her vision for a united kingdom. "We have all seen dark times," as she began, her voice strong and steady. "But we have also seen that, together, we are strong. I believe that with wisdom, courage, and kindness, we can build a future where our people live in harmony and safety." The council members listened, their faces filled with respect and admiration. One by one, they shared their hopes, dreams, and ideas. Bjorn, a loyal warrior, spoke of building defenses to protect their borders. Sigrid, the wise elder, suggested that they teach the young about courage and honesty. But then, an unexpected voice spoke up a young boy named Leif, who had been chosen to represent the children of the villages. Princess Astrid, he said, his eyes bright, we should also remember to be kind to all creatures, even those that seem scary or different. They have hearts too. Astrid smiled, moved by the boy's innocent wisdom. You are right, Leif. We must protect the peace, not just between our people, but with the world around us. With a newfound purpose, the council agreed to work together, each member vowing to do their part. Astrid felt a deep sense of pride, knowing that her kingdom was united not only by strength but by wisdom and compassion. But as the council disbanded, a messenger arrived, breathless and pale, with news from a distant land. A strange sickness has begun to spread in the eastern villages, he said. It moves swiftly, and no one knows its cause. Astrid's heart sank. Peace had returned, but a new challenge had just begun. Chapter 14. The Search for the Healing Herb. Determined to protect her people, Astrid set out with her most trusted companions, Bjorn, Sigrid, and Leif, to find the source of the strange sickness. The messenger had told them of a rare herb known as moonleaf, which was said to have powerful healing properties. However, it grew only in the misty forests on the far side of the mountains. As they journeyed, the land around them grew dense with fog, and the trees seemed to whisper secrets from ages past. Leif walked close to Astrid, his eyes wide with wonder. Do you think we'll really find the moonleaf, Princess? He asked. We will find it, Leif, Astrid assured him. And when we do, we'll bring healing to our people. They trekked deeper into the forest, where the air was cool and filled with the scent of pine. Strange, glowing mushrooms dotted the ground, lighting their path. Finally, they reached a clearing where a silver light shone down on a patch of blue-green plants with delicate, silver-edged leaves, the moonleaf. But as Astrid bent down to pick the herb, she heard a low growl. A large wolf, its eyes glowing in the darkness, stood watching them. Its fur was sleek and dark, its eyes filled with intelligence and caution. Astrid raised her hand, motioning for her companions to stay back. Easy, friend, as she said softly, remembering Leif's words about kindness toward all creatures. We mean no harm. The wolf tilted its head, as if understanding her. It padded closer, sniffing the air around them. Astrid slowly took out a piece of bread from her pack and offered it. The wolf accepted the bread, then sat quietly, watching her with curious eyes. With the wolf's silent permission, Astrid carefully gathered the moonleaf, enough to heal her people but leaving some for the forest to replenish. She gave the wolf a gentle nod, and it disappeared into the shadows, leaving her feeling as though she had gained a new friend. With the moonleaf in hand, Astrid and her companions made their way back, their spirits high. They knew they had found the cure, but they also sensed that this journey had only deepened their connection to the mysteries of the land. Chapter 15. The Healer's Gift. Upon returning to the kingdom, Astrid prepared a special healing brew from the moonleaf. The villagers who had fallen ill gathered in the village square, their faces pale and their spirits low. Astrid, with Sigrid's guidance, carefully brewed the potion over a small fire, the air filled with the fresh, herbal scent of the moonleaf. She gave each villager a cup of the brew, her heart filled with hope. "Drink, and let the strength of the forest fill you," as she said gently. As the villagers drank, a warmth spread through their bodies, and color returned to their cheeks. Soon, they began to stand taller, their strength returning as the sickness faded. The village was filled with joyful cheers, and Astrid knew that they had brought a true healing to her people, one that would forever be remembered. That evening, the villagers held a feast in honor of Astrid and her companions. Leif, the young boy, received a special place of honor for his kindness to the wolf, which had allowed them to gather the moonleaf without harm. As the fire crackled, stories of their journey filled the air, and laughter and song echoed through the village. But as the feast continued, Sigrid approached Astrid, her face thoughtful. "Princess," as she said softly, "the moonleaf has healed us for now, but sickness and shadows will always find their way back." Astrid looked up at the stars, feeling a deep understanding settle within her. "You're right, Sigrid. As long as there is life, there will be challenges. But we will face them together, with courage and wisdom." And with that, Astrid made a vow to her people, one that would become legend. She promised to lead them with kindness, strength, and a heart open to all the mysteries of the world. She would guard her people not just as a warrior, but as a wise and compassionate leader. The Viking princess's journey had shown her that true strength lay not in battles, but in love and unity. And as the years passed, her name became known far and wide as a symbol of courage, kindness, and the unbreakable bond between a leader and her people. Chapter 16. The Mysterious Messenger. Years of peace and prosperity had blessed Astrid's kingdom, and her people grew strong under her wise and compassionate rule. But one winter evening, as snow blanketed the land, a lone figure approached the castle gates. Cloaked in heavy furs, the stranger seemed weary from a long journey across icy mountains and frozen lakes. Astrid, ever curious and kind-hearted, ordered the stranger to be brought into the great hall, where a warm fire crackled, casting a golden glow. The stranger lowered his hood, revealing a young man with piercing green eyes and a silver amulet shaped like a wolf. "I bring a message from the ancient lands to the north," he said, bowing respectfully. "My name is Kaelin, and I come seeking the help of the wise Princess Astrid." Astrid listened carefully as Kaelin explained. His homeland was under threat by a powerful force, the frost giants, ancient beings who had awoken from their slumber, bringing icy storms and endless darkness. The people of the north had tried to resist, but the giants were too strong, and their land was quickly falling to an endless winter. "Your bravery and wisdom are known throughout the world," Kaelin continued. "We beg you, Princess Astrid, to help us save our land." Astrid looked at her companions, each of them understanding the weight of this new challenge. Her heart went out to the people of the north, and she knew she could not turn away from those in need. "We will help you, Kaelin," as she said, her voice strong. "Gather supplies and prepare for the journey. We will leave at dawn." And so, with her most loyal companions by her side, Astrid prepared to face the frost giants, a force unlike any she had ever encountered. Chapter 17. The Valley of Eternal Ice. The journey to the northern lands was long and treacherous. Snow fell heavily as Astrid's group traveled through icy valleys and frozen rivers. The air was so cold that each breath formed clouds of frost, and the wind howled like wolves, as if warning them of the danger that lay ahead. At last, they reached the Valley of Eternal Ice, where the frost giants were said to dwell. It was a bleak and haunting place, filled with towering ice formations that sparkled under the pale winter sun. As they approached, Astrid felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold. It was as though the land itself was alive, watching them. Kaelin pointed to a mountain pass, where the giants were rumored to gather. "We must tread carefully," he whispered. "The frost giants are ancient beings, and they do not welcome intruders." But as they crept closer, a deep rumbling shook the ground. From the shadows emerged a giant, towering high above them, his skin as pale as snow and his eyes glowing like blue flames. He looked down at them, his voice echoing through the valley. "Why do you come to the realm of the frost giants?" he demanded. Astrid stepped forward, her voice steady and respectful. "We come not as enemies, but as friends. The people of the north suffer under the endless winter. We ask for your mercy." The giant gazed at her, his expression unreadable. "The winter is our gift and our power," he said. "But if you seek warmth, there is only one way: an ancient flame hidden within the mountain of fire." Astrid's heart raced. She knew this journey was far from over. "Then tell us how to reach this mountain," as she replied, her voice unwavering. The giant nodded, impressed by her bravery. "Only the pure of heart can find the way. Look to the stars at midnight, and they will guide you." With a final, deep rumble, the giant vanished into the icy mists, leaving Astrid and her companions with a new path and a renewed sense of purpose. They would find the mountain of fire and bring warmth back to the land of eternal ice. Chapter 18: The Mountain of Fire. As midnight approached, Astrid and her companions stood in a clearing, gazing up at the night sky. The stars shone brightly, forming a trail of light that pointed toward a distant peak surrounded by a halo of mist, the mountain of fire. They set off immediately, guided by the stars and the hope that they were nearing the end of their journey. The closer they got to the mountain, the warmer the air became. Snow melted around them, and small streams began to trickle down the slopes. At last, they reached the mountain's base, where a narrow path wound up through craggy rocks and patches of green grass. The path was steep and challenging, but Astrid led the way with courage, determined to reach the ancient flame that would end the winter curse. As they climbed higher, they could feel a powerful heat radiating from the mountain's heart, filling them with warmth and strength. Finally, they reached a cave at the peak, its entrance glowing with a golden light. Inside, a massive fire burned, its flames crackling and dancing in hues of red, orange, and blue. Astrid stepped forward, feeling the warmth spread through her body, filling her with a sense of peace. To her surprise, she saw ancient Viking runes carved around the fire, symbols of protection and unity. She realized that this flame was not only a source of warmth, but a symbol of harmony between the elements of fire and ice. Taking a deep breath, Astrid raised her hands toward the flame, feeling its energy flow into her. She closed her eyes and spoke a silent prayer, asking for the strength to bring balance to the land. When she opened her eyes, a strange and beautiful thing happened. The flame split into two, one half burning bright, the other forming a gentle blue flame that danced like a whisper of wind. She took a torch and touched it to each flame, capturing both their warmth and coolness. With the torches lit, she and her companions began their journey back, the flames guiding their way. As they descended the mountain, the snow began to melt around them, and the frost retreated, making way for green fields and blooming flowers. When they returned to Kaelin's village, the people gathered, their faces filled with awe and gratitude. The cold was gone, replaced by a soft, gentle warmth that filled the air and melted the last traces of the endless winter. Astrid held the torches high, her heart swelling with pride. She had brought light and life back to the land, proving once again that true strength lay not in force, but in courage, compassion, and the willingness to bring balance to the world. The frost giants, now appeased by the warmth, retreated to their icy peaks, and a peace settled over the land. The people rejoiced, celebrating not only the end of the cold but the bravery of their princess, who had once again proven herself a true leader. Chapter 19. The Song of the Sea. After her journey to the land of eternal ice, Astrid returned to her kingdom, where peace and prosperity thrived. But one day, as she walked along the cliffs by the sea, a strange and haunting melody drifted up from the waves below. The song was soft and mysterious, calling to her like a whisper from another world. Curious, Astrid followed the sound down to the rocky shore, where she found a small, delicate seashell resting on the sand. When she held it to her ear, she heard the melody more clearly, a song filled with longing and sorrow. That evening, Astrid met with Sigrid, the wise elder, who listened intently as she described the strange melody. "The sea spirits are calling to you," Sigrid said thoughtfully. "They are ancient beings who dwell beneath the waves, guarding secrets and knowledge from ages long past. Perhaps they seek your help." Astrid felt a sense of purpose stir within her. She had faced many challenges on land, but now it was time to answer the call of the sea. She gathered a small group of trusted companions, including Bjorn, her loyal warrior, and Leif, the young boy who had become like a little brother to her. Together, they set sail at dawn, following the mysterious song that led them farther from shore than they had ever ventured. The sea was calm, yet there was a sense of anticipation in the air, as if the ocean itself awaited their arrival. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a thick mist rose from the water, and a shimmering figure appeared before them, a sea spirit, her form like the waves, her eyes filled with wisdom and sorrow. "Princess Astrid," the spirit said in a voice that echoed like the tides, "we are in need of your help. A great danger stirs in the depths, threatening the balance of the sea and all who dwell within it." Astrid nodded, her heart steady. "Tell me what I must do," she said. "I will do whatever it takes to bring peace to your realm." And so, the sea spirit told her of the kraken, a powerful and ancient creature who had been disturbed from its slumber and now wreaked havoc in the underwater world. Only the bravest could face the kraken, and the sea spirits needed Astrid's courage to calm the creature's fury. With a deep breath, Astrid agreed, knowing that this would be one of her greatest challenges yet. Chapter 20. The Kraken's Lair. Guided by the sea spirit, Astrid and her companions dove into the ocean, wearing magical shells that allowed them to breathe underwater. The world beneath the waves was unlike anything they had ever seen: bright coral reefs, schools of fish that shimmered like rainbows, and sea plants that danced with the current. But as they ventured deeper, the water grew colder, and the vibrant colors faded to shadows. Soon, they reached the dark chasm where the kraken was said to dwell. Astrid could feel the creature's presence, a powerful force lurking in the depths. "Stay close," she whispered to her companions, her voice muffled by the water. "We must approach with respect." As they swam closer, a massive eye opened in the darkness, followed by another and another, each one filled with a strange mixture of anger and sadness. The kraken slowly emerged, its tentacles stretching outward, each one larger than a Viking ship. The creature let out a low, mournful sound that rumbled through the water, and Astrid knew that it was not merely a monster, but a being with emotions and a story of its own. "Great Kraken," she called, her voice calm yet strong, "we mean you no harm. I am Astrid, princess of the northern lands, and I have come to bring peace between the sea and the land." The kraken paused, its eyes studying her with a wary gaze. Then, in a voice as deep as the ocean, it spoke. I was awakened by those who sought to take my treasures, those who have no respect for the sea or its creatures. They have angered me, and now I seek to protect what is mine. Astrid thought carefully, understanding the kraken's pain. We will protect your treasures, and we will ensure that no harm comes to your realm. I promise, as a friend of the sea. The kraken seemed to consider her words, its massive form slowly relaxing. If you speak truthfully, I will return to my slumber. But first, you must prove your loyalty. With a wave of its tentacle, the kraken revealed a small, enchanted pearl that glowed with a soft, blue light. This is the heart of the sea, it said. Take it to the surface and guard it well, for it is a symbol of peace between the sea and the land. Astrid took the pearl, feeling its warmth in her hands, and bowed respectfully. Thank you, great kraken. I will protect this pearl and honor the sea's treasures for as long as I live. With that, the kraken retreated into the darkness, its massive form disappearing into the depths. The water grew calm once more, and Astrid knew that peace had been restored. Chapter 21: The Heart of the Sea. As Astrid and her companions returned to the surface, they felt a newfound sense of purpose. The heart of the sea pulsed softly in her hands, a reminder of the promise she had made to the kraken and the sea spirits. When they arrived back on shore, Astrid held the pearl high, showing it to her people. She explained the journey they had taken, the alliance they had forged with the sea, and the promise to protect its treasures. The heart of the sea is not just a pearl, as she said, her voice filled with pride and respect. It is a symbol of peace and unity between the land and the ocean. We must honor it by treating the sea with kindness, respecting its creatures, and protecting its beauty. Her people listened in awe, understanding the importance of her words. They knew that the ocean was a world of mystery and wonder, deserving of their respect and care. Over time, Astrid's kingdom developed new customs to honor the sea. They held festivals by the shore, cleaned the beaches, and taught the children to respect every creature that dwelled beneath the waves. The fishermen took only what they needed, always leaving enough for the ocean to thrive. As Astrid stood on the shore, watching the waves roll gently onto the beach, she felt a deep peace within her. She knew that her kingdom was strong, not just in battle, but in the harmony they had found with the world around them. Her journey had taught her that true strength came from understanding, kindness, and the courage to protect the beauty of the world. The legend of Princess Astrid, the heart of the sea, and the peace she brought between the land and ocean became a tale that will be passed down for generations, inspiring her people to live in harmony with nature and honor the magic of the world around them. And so, Astrid's story continued, each chapter filled with new adventures, new lessons, and a heart that grew ever wiser, ever braver, and ever more devoted to the people and world she loved. The end.